this is it right now. So, it is my privilege to introduce our next speakers, both from the world of sports. LZ Granderson is a senior writer and columnist for CNN and ESPN with a video blog and a weekly column. He has been named Journalist of the Year by the National Lesbian and Gay Journalists Association and was awarded the 2009 award for online journalism by the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation. Rick Welts. Rick Welts is the President and COO of the Golden State Warriors, following 9 years with the Phoenix Suns and a career working in professional basketball. He played a significant role in the launch of the WNBA. That's right. Earlier this year, he came out, the first executive of a men's professional team to do so. We are thrilled to have LZ Granderson and Rick Welts with us today. Gentlemen.
So Rick.
LZ.
Welcome home.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you. I want everybody to check out LZ's shoes first. Check these out. This is like, wow.
He's such a shining star, I had to get paraphernalia to balance it out a little bit there. So, let's just start at the very beginning. When did you know that you were gay? And when did you know that you loved sports? And when did you decide that those two could not exist together?
Well, I think I knew my whole life. I was one of those people that always knew that my feelings were there.
Is this sports or being gay?
No, this would be...
Okay.
It's good.
Just, I have to clarify these things.
Thank you. That would be the being gay part.
Okay.
Okay. Right. Sports is really where I connected with my dad. You know, we were very close in that way, going to games together. That was kind of our currency for discussion. Mm-hmm. So from a very early age, you know, I was going to sporting events, and for me, I guess it represented more than just the athletic competition. It really was a way to connect with a parent. So I knew my love of sports early as well. I couldn't see how the two fit together, okay, because there was nobody out there that I could really look to where these things merged into one. And because of that, you know, for the most part of my life, I kept the two very separate, feeling like they couldn't be connected. And, you know, that kind of set me on a path that really I stayed on most of my life.
Was there any one particular incident in your upbringing that made that clear to you, that you could not have a life as an openly gay man and work in sports? Or was it just something that you've just kind of taken from our culture over time?
I think probably the latter. I started working for an NBA team when I was 16 years old as a ball boy, we used to say. Now we say ball kid, much more correct.
Ball person.
For the Seattle Supersonics. And, you know, in that role, it was really great for me, especially somebody who does what I do now, because I was in the locker room. You know, I saw the interaction between players and coaches, the media, ownership. You know, really had a way to observe that as a fly on the wall that nobody paid any attention to. Mm-hmm. But I also kind of learned the masculine culture of the locker room. And again, while I knew I had this part of my life, I just couldn't see how it fit in to the environment that I was working in.
So what happened over the years in which you went from being a ball person to CEO of the Phoenix Suns that you decided, I need to come out?
You know, I think I had a great life. My friends kind of had a great debate over the last year whether or not this was something I needed to do. Mm-hmm. But I think I did reach a point in my life where if I was going to have somebody who I wanted to tell was the most important person in my life, the incongruous nature of then not being able to include that in my workplace, to me, got to a point, it was my issue, not his, But it got to the point where that was a compromise that I didn't feel personally I could make anymore.
As you moved up the executive ranks, were there still moments of homophobia within that environment that kept you inside, or at that point, was it all about you?
I put it on me. You know,
Okay.
I don't really think there were ever any incidents outwardly that I can remember where I felt, you know, particularly offended by something that had happened or something that someone had said. But I had just made the decision that if I was going to, that I just didn't know what would happen. That was really my problem. No one in a position like mine had ever taken this step. I couldn't watch anybody go through it and say, you know what, that can work out okay. So maybe I'm just not going to risk it. And I had great family, great friends who were supportive, but I just put a barrier around that part of my life in my work environment, which, you know, was a sacrifice for the quality of the relationships I could have with people I really cared about, really liked and respected. You know, there was always something there that prevented me from having, you know, a kind of complete relationship with those people that you would hope people you work with you could share with.
You know, that really speaks to the power of homophobia in the workplace, because this man's career is about taking risks. We're talking, you know, creator of the All-Star Weekend, right? We're talking Dream Team. We're not talking about someone whose career is defined by taking the easy path. You've taken risks, and yet homophobia in the workplace just was not a risk you were willing to take. What advice would you give someone who's feeling maybe similarly?
Yeah, you know, I don't kind of impose my set of circumstances on anybody else. It's an incredibly personal journey for me to get to the point where this is what I wanted to do, and I think that's true for anybody in my situation. I do know, you know, having gone through this and hearing from so many people in my industry that I did not know who are in exactly the same situation, that it's real. You know, the issue is one we just have an incredibly difficult time engaging in, especially in the world of men's professional team sports. We just don't know how to talk about it. It's uncomfortable. You know, part of doing what I did and the way I did it was hopefully to increase both the quality and the quantity of the dialogue and make it a more comfortable point of discussion, because I think we were talking last night. To me, in sports, it just doesn't make sense, because sports is all about, do you have game? You know, if you can do it on the court or on the field, doesn't matter what color you are, it doesn't matter how you worship, it doesn't matter what ethnic or economic background you come from, you're there. Okay, for some reason, we haven't been able to include this one aspect of the human existence in a way that we take for granted in so many other parts of our society today.
If you could identify one main factor as to why that seems to still be behind this protective wall, what would it be?
You know, I think we don't, like many issues, I think putting a human face on it really helps. I think it's out of the experience, or people think it might be out of their own personal experience in the world of sports. They're not really sure, and we're afraid of things we don't really understand. And somehow, you know, part of the hope here with me and others is that if you can put a human face on it, it's not so scary. You know, it's something that you can relate to. I go back, you know, one of my proudest moments at the NBA actually was when Magic Johnson was about to announce he was HIV positive. We had a few day head start to know that, and we had a lot of education too. This is 1991. We didn't know anything about the disease. We didn't know how it was transmitted. We thought it was a gay man's disease, and here was this, you know, iconic athletic figure who was about to announce that he was HIV positive. And it changed the dialogue about HIV forever around the world. I mean, it gave us a safe place to go for the discussion, because it was somebody we all liked, somebody we all felt we knew whether we did or we didn't. And it became a way to educate ourselves, and became a way to educate our kids for the first time about something which had, you know, we didn't know how to talk about before. So, you know, I think the more we can put a human face on the issue, the more comfortable we're going to be to have the discussion.
Where were you during the entire Kobe Bryant, F-bomb, $100,000 fine conversation? Did David Stern call you up and say, okay, Diva, what should we do?
You know, I'm afraid it might have cost Kobe a little money, but I hope not. A series of things happened this spring that were really, for me, from my vantage point, this was before my story had come out in the New York Times on the front page. And it actually was a Monday morning that I had gone to New York to sit down with Commissioner David Stern to say, here's the deal. And I want to ask you, will you be part of telling my story? It was that night that, you know, Kobe went off. And, you know, so, you know, the next day I walk into the office and actually Glisten was filming a public service announcement with 2 Phoenix Suns players in my arena that ran to death during the playoffs. It was great about the appropriate or inappropriate use of the word gay.
Right.
And all this was unfolding, you know, within the course of about a week. And you know, one, it tells us how far we have to go, because here's one of the most competitive human beings in the world, Kobe Bryant, you know, in the heat of the battle, frustrated as he possibly can be, reaching down deep to say the most hurtful thing he can think of to another man and call him a faggot. That tells you we have a long way to go. I think the reaction to that and Kobe's response to that, I cut him a little slack, because I think it was a great teaching moment. I think it was a great opportunity to say, here's the power that's behind the words and what it can mean so far beyond what you ever intend them to do, that I actually kind of look at it as progress and an opportunity to, again, engage in a discussion that we might not otherwise have had.
Have you had a chance to talk to him since then?
I'm not allowed to talk to players right now.
That's right, it's a lockout. But that happened before the lockout.
I haven't.
So I haven't had a chance?
No.
Okay. So being the humble person that you are, you come out on the front page of the New York Times. And what was the response from the community once word got out that you had come out?
Yeah, I had no idea what to be prepared for. I had spent so much time, energy, and effort to get to that point that I kind of made a deal with myself that I wasn't going to worry about what would happen. I certainly wasn't prepared for the absolutely overwhelmingly positive response I got from everybody, from people I'd worked with throughout my career, which I probably expected.
Such as who?
You know, everybody from coaches to players to executive personnel who just wanted to say, hey, you know, I'm so happy for you, glad you're at this place in your life. It's about time, like we knew. But now at least you'll talk to me about it. You know, those were great, but I kind of expected that. I think the ones that were much more impactful to me were from the people I didn't know, people in my industry who I didn't, know were in my situation. Parents who wrote these beautiful, emails and letters. People still write letters. I got hundreds of letters from parents just worried about their kids and where they were and how they were dealing with their own sexual identity or gender identification. And I guess, without question, the ones that would stay with me the longest, were the most impactful, were from kids themselves, who really just, I think, wanted to connect with somebody who might understand their story. And, that's incredibly humbling and unbelievably gratifying to be able to you hope, at least give some kid out there who thinks maybe he can't pursue his passion because of who he is or who she is, give them, some hope that they can follow that passion in their life, and they can be successful, and they can be happy.
So you come out, you resign from the Phoenix Suns. Next thing we know, you get this job offer from Golden State. Can you talk about what it felt like for you to be engaged in an interview as an openly gay man with a partner and there's the hiring personnel across from the desk. They know all of your business, and they hired you anyway.
Yeah, you know, that to me was probably the greatest part of the experience, to be able to know, you know, walking into the day after I left the Suns, I really had expected to be doing things like this, to be able to maybe write a book like Meredith, you know, that'd be really cool.
Love you, Meredith.
Yeah,
Love you.
yeah. Maybe lay on a beach somewhere for a while, which I haven't done in about 30 years, you know, that'd be really great. You know, the next day I got a call from the new owners of the Golden State Warriors, who just paid the highest price ever paid for an NBA team. And you know, it was so great. They knew my story before we sat down, and we spoke for probably 6 hours the first time we got together. And it wasn't until about 4 hours into the conversation, there was one question: "Hey, how did that ownership in Phoenix react to that announcement of yours last May?" It's like, great, you know, that worked good. And it was like, wow, you know, for the first time in my life, I'm not worried about, you know, what do they know? If they don't know, what would they think if they did know? And to just remove that is a great starting place that I've never had before in my work life.
Any hesitation at all for accepting a job as an openly gay executive in the heart of gay land, San Francisco?
Well, you know, it's a little, I have to tell you, for somebody who, you know, you joked about it, my whole life I've spent trying to be behind the scenes, not in front of it. And, you know, to have this now kind of be such a focal point of my life, and to go through, you know, a big news conference when I'm announced with the Warriors, and every other question about my sexual orientation, okay? You know, it's like, I want to talk about basketball, okay? But I think that's what I've signed up for, you know, that in taking this step, I know that, and I actually do feel a real opportunity and sense of responsibility for the platform now that I've been given. I need to continue to be part of the discussion because I have that opportunity to, and I think it's an important discussion, especially, you know, in the world of men's team sports. So it's different, it's great, but you know, I'm happy to find myself where I am today.
Well, and we're very happy that you're out, that you're employed. And thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you. Rick Welts.